it was better than Ninja Turtles 3, which was the last one that was in the theater, or the last, well, okay, it was the last live-action Ninja Turtle movie. So how do you feel about seeing the first live-action Turtle movie since Turtles 3?
You mentioned what you're talking about is the 2007 movie, which
the animated one,
which a lot of people seem to have forgotten about.
Yeah, I don't know. Nobody gives a shit about the 2007 one anymore. I don't know why.
Whenever you're at the movie store, like Suncoast Video or something,
Yeah.
you see the collection of the Turtles movies. It's always like the 3 Turtles movies. They never like.
Yeah,
that's been forgotten.
Yeah, exactly. They've been playing the three from the 90s on TV a lot,
right?
And not the 2007 one. And you know what? I can kind of understand, because I think now the excitement of that movie's faded. It's kind of like now you look at it and you're like, oh, well, this could have been like a made-for-DVD movie.
Yeah.
It was okay. You know, it wasn't like amazing or anything.
Yeah, the 2007 one was decent, but yeah, I can definitely see that. It seemed like something that would have been better just as like a special on television. Yeah.
Yeah, I watched it recently, and I thought it kind of wasn't as exciting as I remembered.
I think it was exciting at the time because it was like, oh, a new Ninja Turtle movie.
Yeah,
but
finally.
Then it wasn't. It's like, eh.
Yeah, and then that's how we feel about this one. Was kind of like, oh, now it's exciting again because there's a new movie. But we also feel kind of like, you know, everybody's got on their minds like, oh crap, like the Turtles look ugly. Obviously,
yeah,
they look really ugly.
That's one of my big problems with this movie is I do not like how the Turtles look at all.
It takes you out of it a little bit. I think while watching the movie, I got used to that, but the Turtles are so lovable. And they have
what was wrong with the way the Turtles looked? Like, Ninja Turtles was one of the most popular things, like, in the world, you know, as far as characters. And everybody loved the Ninja Turtles, how they looked, you know, just on the cartoon and in the comics. And, like, you know, in the original movie, 1990, right? Or 1989, the original movie. Everybody loved how they looked. They were appealing. Why did they have to go and change them into, like, realistic-looking, ugly things?
Well,
I guess they
wouldn't say realistic, but
well, you know, more like a real turtle. But like people were fine that they didn't look like real turtles. Like all these years, all of a sudden they have to like try to make it look more like a real turtle.
I don't think it's even so much the look. I think that you know, if it was a horror movie, maybe it'd be fine. But it's so freakishly contradictory to their personalities.
Yeah,
like
they're just not appealing to look at.
Lovable characters, but gross looking.
Yeah,
and I do have to say the only even you know, of all the things that happened in the movie, the most unrealistic thing that happened. Oh, and by the way, we're not gonna do any like major spoilers yet. We're gonna do some spoilers at the end, but right now, just minor spoilers. So
yeah, we'll let you know when we're gonna talk about that spoiler stuff.
Like we're not gonna say any major plot points or anything like that yet. Maybe a little bit at the end, but we'll warn you before that.
You'll have your chance to pause or turn off the video.
But so what I'm about to tell you right now is something extremely minor, but what I thought was kind of funny is that the most unrealistic thing to me in the movie was that April O'Neil made a phone call on a payphone.
I don't remember that happening because I remember her pulling out her phone and you see like an advertisement for Skype.
Oh, no.
You know?
No, she was in an alley at one point on a payphone, and I was like, "Wow, a payphone."
Yeah. Do those exist still?
Not many. It's pretty much just wiped out.
Well, they are in New York City, so I guess in New York City you can still.
Oh, are they?
I suppose, yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway, where do you want to go next with this?
Where do I want to go next?
Payphone, so.
I want to talk about how Vernon is in the movie, and you know, James and I did a video a few years back talking about some of the things that we wanted to see, and I do have to say this much for the movie, even though overall I didn't really care for the movie, it did meet a lot of the criteria that we wanted to see in the movie.
Yes.
One of the big things that we wanted to see was to bring back a lot of characters from the cartoon. Now, there was no Bebop and Rocksteady.
No Krang.
No Krang. But they did have Vernon and sort of Mr. Thompson, except Mr. Thompson was it Mrs. Thompson?
Well, it's Bernadette Thompson, played by Whoopi Goldberg, which to me, it's just a different character. They just put a different character there.
It was sort of the same name, though.
Yeah, because I always see Bern Thompson as this male boss who's kind of perverted and is kind of disrespectful to his co-workers and or his employees. And, you know, it was a different take on it, obviously, but it was cool to see Vernon in there. I think they could have made him more of an asshole.
Yeah.
They could have made him a little more like the cartoon Vernon, but I can understand
the
why
cartoon Vernon was like a dick.
Yeah.
And in this movie, there was parts where he was a little bit like rude, I guess, but
I can understand why.
Nice.
Yeah, I can understand why he wasn't as exaggerated as the cartoon, but...
Well, I don't understand that. Like, why do you think they couldn't have made him more exaggerated?
I just think because they're making a live action movie out of it. Some certain characters they might have... I'm just saying, like, that's why they might have tried to tone him down a bit.
Yeah.
He was still kind of a dick, but he wasn't... I think he could have still went farther.
Yeah, I liked in the cartoon when he was like a sarcastic wise ass, and he wasn't really that way, which is a kind of unfortunate.
Bruce Campbell should have played him.
Well, actually, I thought Will Arnett could have been a really good choice because he was in Arrested Development, and he's actually really funny in that show. Like, I think they could have utilized him better, so I don't think it was the actor's fault. I think it was the way they wrote it, or But what else about this movie?
But like you said, the old video we did a video, I think, when were we doing those Turtle Tuesdays?
It was a few years back.
2011, maybe?
Something like that, yeah, a few years ago.
Something like that. Well, anyway, yeah, we did that video. See that video again. That's I stand by that video. All the things we said in there, I think still hold true. But the movie, like you said, did actually address some of those things. I won't say what yet. Let's hold off.
My main thing, though, and one of the main points we had made in that video a few years ago, one of the main criteria that I didn't want to happen, which was this whole movie, was that they retold the origin story again. And what we had said before was, I don't want to see the origin story again. We all know who the Ninja Turtles are. We all know how they came about. Why do we have to hear that story again? And the argument is always, well, kids today, haven't heard it. They need to hear it. But it's like, come on. Like, how many times do we have to retell the same fucking story? It's like,
well, that's what I liked about the 2007 one, is that it just started and they're already going. It's
exactly.
Like they didn't have to really go back. But at the same time, I agree with that, but at the same time, I kind of saw something in there that I'd never seen before. And
what was that?
Well, let's see. This is a minor spoiler, I guess, but it's when the turtles are young, they actually show them as before they're teenagers.
That I thought was actually kind of cool.
Yeah, it usually jumps from when they're baby turtles. You start to see them mutate, and then it kind of jumps ahead to them being teenagers. Mm-hmm. So it showed a lot that them learning all their skills and everything, and it was actually, I thought that was kind of charming to see them young. It could have been, and I imagine if they had, I don't know, there's just thoughts run through my head. I just was thinking of the movie Born Free, which is one of the most tear-jerking movies of all time. Which is an amazing movie, by the way. But in that movie, you see a bunch of lion cubs growing up, and I imagine that as they could have made this Academy Award-winning Born Free of Ninja Turtles, like having the turtles, showing them grow up over time, and like you just latch on to them, and they almost become like your own kids, seeing them grow up. That's just a thought. But no, I do not think they should do a prequel. They should not do Ninja Turtles: The Origin. Don't do that. Let's just move.
We all know the story. Like, let's go to the next thing. They probably are going to make another movie after this, I'd imagine. So it'd be great if they could bring in some of the other things we want. Like, there was no Technodrome or any of that. I was glad that Shredder was in it, because I was worried a while back that they were going to use, like, aliens from outer space or something like that. So Shredder is in the movie, and I like that. But Shredder he had a bit of a crazy look to him.
I think you've seen the trailer. Like,
yeah.
You can see this. I thought that maybe that would be the Super Shredder version. Like, he gets beefed up at the end into some new armor and he's got new weapons. But
he reminded me of Megatron. He looked kind of like a Transformer.
Exactly. He looked like a Transformer. It was exaggerated, but at least it was good seeing Shredder in it.
Speaking of Transformers, they had a lot of shots in this movie that reminded me of the Transformers movies. How, there'll be action going on, but then they do slow-mo of them jumping through the air, which is like, that happens all the time in those, Michael Bay Transformers movies. And what did you think of when they do that? Do you like that?
When they did it in this movie, I was always kind of relieved. I'm like, oh, good, now I can actually see what's going on. Because a lot of times things are going so fast. For the most part, actually, I think the action in this movie was really well done. I think there were parts where it was like, okay, like it's enough, like the camera's like moving all over and all this like fast cutting. And I think if you're making a movie with so much CG in it, that you have the luxury to make shots go on longer. It's not like you have to film something and make it all work in one take. That's why old action movies where they're using practical effects and everything it's you have to cut things up faster to put it all together and make sense. But this time I think they should do more long shots.
Speaking of a long shot or a long thing, I thought that scene where they were going down the mountain, like, took forever. Like, how big was that fucking mountain? Like, it seemed like 20 minutes they were sliding down this mountain. That went on, like, way too long for me.
Yeah. I still thought it was a pretty good set piece. But, yeah, it went on a little bit. The action, I have two things, like two contradictions, but, like, or a plus and negative is that, the ones that were done on, with the Jim Henson Company, 1990, and
super appealing.
The first two Turtle movies,
not the third.
Really, well, that they after that there's no Jim Henson. I guess the effects were really lowered in that one, but
it was lowered.
Yeah, but looking at the first one especially, the